Hello, in this video we're going to cover the print tab in the print layout. And the print tab is where you go to do any sort of actual printing. If you want to print to a PDF, print to a paper map, or export to a GeoPDF. I'm going to start at the top and just work my way down through this list. So the printer option here is to select your actual printer. At the moment I don't have a physical printer attached, but if you do have a physical printer, you'll find it in this list. And as you can see, I have the PDF option, XPS document writer. I have an external PDF writer that I've downloaded and added. And the most important thing to note from the printer is that whatever printer you select, and this includes a physical printer, is going to change your option for paper size. So you can see here I just changed to Microsoft OneNote, and that changed what I have as in terms of printing landscape, you could say. And this gray border is showing me the actual paper that is usable space versus unusable space. So with this particular printer, it's basically telling me that there's not a lot of usable space. For this example, I'm just going to switch back to just a PDF printer. And with the PDF, obviously, there's no real need to cut off the edges. Physical printers, you usually get a quarter or a half-inch buffer sort of around the edges to make sure you don't overrun the edges. And that's why the gray area comes into effect, more importantly, on a physical printer. So now that I have my PDF selected, you can see that there's only a few options here, well, maybe a dozen or so. If I switch to the XPS document writer, you'll see there's quite a few more options. And as I switch through these, let's go back to PDF here. If I switch this to a 11 by 17, it's going to automatically update that paper size on my map. So now I'm overrunning on the right side. I'm going to fit to screen. That changes the zoom level, so now everything fits. And you can see that my template, my PLT, is no longer really going to work for this 11 by 17. So fortunately, I have another PLT that works for an 11 by 17. So I can load that, or you can go through and manually adjust all these. So I'll just load that to show how that works. I'm going to not save. I'm going to just load my 11 by 17 PLT, which I created. And there you go. So there's the new template that I saved earlier. And you can see it's fitting to that full 11 by 17. Margins. The way margins work is it actually is an offset for your printer. So if I bump this up, and these are in millimeters, you'll see this little gray dashed line coming down. And what that's actually saying is this edge of the map, this north or top edge of the map, if I were to print right now, would actually be where this gray line is. So it's not going to actually push the features down, it's just adjusting the usable space. So if I move all of these in, it's going to offset our page, and it might actually not print on the paper anymore because it's moving it, what do I have, 10 millimeters from the left. It's moving the entire template over to the right. So it's shifted from this edge all the way into here. And now that means that this edge is probably going to be about 10 millimeters off the sheet of paper. So this is more useful in situations where you might have a printer that doesn't seem to actually print directly in the middle of a piece of paper that you expect it to show up. Maybe when you go to print, this edge is a little bit further to the left or a little bit further to the right than you expect. So then you would come in here and say, no, this is printing on the right side of the paper by about 2 millimeters. So then you could bump that up or you can bump this up to push it left or right and try to get that centered again. But for the most part, 0 is going to be what you want. Even if you're on a physical printer that is showing that gray space, it's still going to be 0 from the edge of that gray space. So kind of an advanced setting, something that you're going to want to make small adjustments on, print, and then see if it made the change that you expected. The orientation, of course, you have portrait and landscape. Settings right there, landscape. Print to grayscale, on or off. Checked is going to print to grayscale, so none of the colors will show up, obviously. The print button here will actually print a PDF, whatever you have selected for a printer. It will actually send this layout to that printer. And show print dialog. So these are all of the other settings that you could hope for that the system offers. So if you want to make copies, you can choose to make several copies here. Your print range, you can choose if you had multiple documents, which is really not going to come into effect with our print layout, but let's go into properties, landscape, portrait. Depending on your printer, if this is your physical printer, you may have other options in here. Sometimes they're redundant, sometimes it's really specific to that printer. So most importantly, this OK button is going to actually print. So if I were to say OK right now, it would print 8 copies to this PDF, which I'm not going to do. But OK is actually going to print. And export to GeoPDF. I'm going to make a whole nother video for that. So stay tuned. Thank you.